And with that, I'm going to stop sharing and pass it back to Sachiko and Abby.
Thank you, Laura. Again, my name is Sachika Oates, regional training coordinator for CalPro. And let me introduce now you to our speaker today. Abby Bandurraga is a senior technical assistance consultant at the American Institute for Research. She is our subject matter expert on the expansion of the U.S. Registered Apprenticeship system and diversity, equity, and inclusion in and access to registered apprenticeship opportunities. Prior to joining AIR, Abby was the apprenticeship operations manager for the Oregon Bureau of Labor and Industries Apprenticeship and Training Division. Thank you again for joining us today. Without any further ado, Abby, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Sachiko, and welcome everyone. I am really grateful for the opportunity to be here today and to talk a little bit about registered apprenticeship and a lot about pre-apprenticeship programs. As Sachiko said when she introduced me, I do have a lot of experience both as a subject matter expert in increasing DEIA and registered apprenticeship, running state agencies, running the apprenticeship system for a state. But I also have about 5 years of experience where I managed a pre-apprenticeship program for adult women to help get them into construction-based apprenticeship programs. So I really love pre-apprenticeship, I love registered apprenticeship, and I'm very excited to be here to talk to you about how we can connect adult learners with these programs. Now that you know a little bit about me, I'm hoping that we can take a moment and you can, in the chat, just enter your name, what organization you're representing, and if you could just put one thing that you hope to learn about today. And I'll be trying to check on those and make sure that I try to hit everything possible. And if not, I will leave you with some contact information so you can follow up with me. Today, we're going to, again, do a little bit about registered apprenticeship. We're going to do a lot about quality pre-apprenticeship programs and really talk about the purpose and the value of these programs, how they provide value for adult learners, how to connect adult learners to pre-apprenticeship opportunities. And I'll even leave you with a little bit of consideration for becoming a pre-apprenticeship program if that's something that you'd like. And then when this is over, I'm putting resources on the screen, but we're also going to consolidate those and have a PDF with those resources available alongside this recording. Okay, whoops, I just got a little too ahead of myself. We are going to be focusing on opportunities for adult learners to access quality training that really puts them on a pathway for economic mobility. And we're going to start that with registered apprenticeship. So in order to do that, I kind of would like to start by finding out with our first poll, what it is that you know already about registered apprenticeship. So take a moment, let us know. Maybe you're an expert, you know a ton about it. Maybe you know a little bit, and that's great. You may well regularly work with registered apprenticeship programs. I love that. And please don't worry if you don't know much or if you only have just heard this term registered apprenticeship, we're definitely going to take care of you. So about 50% of you have completed this poll. Oops, we're up to 66. I'd really like to get up to at least be average 80% if we can. This is a really solid mix of folks, and I see that not a lot of you are working currently with programs. So fantastic. I'm going to end this poll and let you all see the results. So as you can see, we have about half of you that either know quite a bit or a little bit, a few of you that are working regularly, and then another about half of you that don't know very much. So I'm going to just go through things and hopefully I will be able to answer your questions and get you more familiar with this process and the system. So at its very core, the kind of elevator pitch about registered apprenticeship is that it provides individuals with high quality employer-driven training. It uses an earn and learn model, and it really builds a pipeline of skilled workers for in-demand jobs while creating this pathway to economic stability and economic mobility. That is the elevator pitch. So to get a little bit deeper, I just want to talk to you about the 7 elements of registered apprenticeship. And I want to emphasize the word registered because I think that the term apprenticeship really gets bandied around a lot and can mean a lot of different things in a lot of different contexts. But what we're talking about today is about capital R, capital A, registered apprenticeship. So that is programs that are registered with and overseen by the U.S. Department of Labor or a state registered apprenticeship agency. With that, when we're talking capital R, capital A, that's why I'm using apprenticeship for the rest of this presentation. Again, we're starting at the very top with apprenticeship being industry-led. It is industry that kind of sets the competencies and the learning material that is going to go into that training. Registered apprenticeship also differs from other training models because it's not an internship, it's not a mentorship, it's not a cooperative agreement. It's not work-based learning. It is actually a paid job. So apprentices receive a paycheck from their very first day of apprenticing, and their pay increases on at regular intervals. They have progressive pay wage as their skills and their knowledge grows. So does their pay. In registered apprenticeship, while they're all getting that paid job, they're also receiving on-the-job mentorship and learning. So they're working under the guidance of a mentor or an expert in the field. In the construction trades, we tend to call that person a journey worker. In the non-construction trades, we'll call that person a subject matter expert or a pro or an established worker. So they're getting this very structured mentoring as they learn the skills of the job. And while they're doing that, they're also getting supplemental education. Sometimes this is called related training, related technical instruction. Generally, this is what happens in the classroom. And it's where apprentices are learning the theoretical or the academic or the safety foundations that support their on-the-job experience. It's very much connected. So when they're learning math, they're learning formulas that connect specifically to their job duties, which makes it a little less daunting than taking a whole college math class. Registered apprenticeships have diversity built into them. They are designed to reflect the communities in which they operate. And as part of developing that equity, that inclusion, that accessibility built into registered apprenticeship are very strong non-discrimination and anti-harassment policies and procedures that have to be a part of all registered apprenticeship programs. And then in terms of safety and quality, apprentices, because they're employees, they're afforded all of those protections that a paid employee has. And because they're training as an employee, they're also training and having the supervision that they need to be safe while they learn how to do their job safely. And then finally, the most critical element of a capital R, capital A registered apprenticeship program is that it results in an industry credential that is portable. They can take their journey card as a plumber, they can take their certificate as a computer programmer, all of those things, they can take those around with them and establish their livelihood and well-being wherever they want. In addition, many registered apprenticeship programs, the supplemental instruction that they're getting, the supplemental education, also accrues college credits. So there's opportunity to even go further as well and get some educational credentials. When we talk about apprenticeship, I think it's really common for folks to think about the construction trades and construction union programs, and that makes a lot of sense. Apprenticeship is one of the oldest education models in recorded history. It's one of the systems and processes that helped build this country from colonial time. And our US system was formalized in the 1930s. The apprenticeship is still like a critical part of learning in the skilled trades, and there's still a pretty significant union influence in the construction trades or in registered apprenticeship, but there's also plenty of non-union programs that also utilize apprenticeship. All of that being said, we still lag really far behind the UK, Germany, other European countries, Australia, Canada, and these are countries that use the apprenticeship strategy in a lot of other sectors that we have typically not used them in. And so to kind of correct that and align ourselves a little more with the promise of apprenticeship, the Department of Labor started working to do registered apprenticeship expansion. And that was in 2015. They started doing a lot of funding, putting a lot of resources towards that. And apprenticeship is really growing now as a workforce training model in sectors like advanced manufacturing, energy, financial services, healthcare, hospitality, IT is another huge one. And there's a ton more. And these are all industries that are also represented in California's apprenticeship systems. So, and again, I'd also want to stress that that opportunities in most of these industries are available in both union or non-union pathways. So it really can support what a person wants for themselves in terms of their work. California, just a quick snapshot for you. California also has made really significant investments in registered apprenticeship, and these are paying off. And so you can see that y'all are closing in on almost 100,000 apprentices that are active in your state right now, over 1,300 that are active in pre-apprenticeship programs. There are more than 1,200 programs that are training these nearly 100,000 apprentices. And there's over 36,000 employers in California that are providing training in apprenticeship. So this has really created a lot of opportunities for Californians. California has an average of 66% completion rate for individuals that are finishing their program, and that is quite a bit higher than the national average. And in addition, what's really critical to know is that when someone completes a registered apprenticeship program, there's a 93% of them are retained in their employment. And those that are retained in their employment, when you average things out, about $77,000 per year as a salary. So you can see that apprenticeship is thriving in California, but it's also helping Californians to thrive and to have that kind of economic stability and mobility that I was talking about earlier. In California, the Department of Industry Relations Division of Apprenticeship Standards, or DAS, I'm going to call them from here on out, they lead the state, and you can find the information that you need by registering for their newsletter. And I would really strongly encourage you to do that. You can find out what's new and up and coming and what new industries might be showing up in apprenticeship, which is really fantastic. You can also go to the DAS website to get information about funding sources or opportunities that might be of interest to you in your programs. And then finally, and most importantly for your work with adult learners, you can use the DAS database to start looking at what apprenticeship programs are available by what county and what the requirements are for entering into those apprenticeship programs. So I'm going to actually show you a search I did on the DAS page because I really wanted to look at how you can utilize the resources there in working with your adult learning population to identify what things they need to have in place in order to pursue these really amazing opportunities. So I pulled 2 different apprenticeship programs in 2 different locations to kind of illustrate what you'll see when you go on this website. And I want to start with a program on the left, and that is the electrical program. So you'll see that this is an electrical program in San Bernardino. It is for an electrician. The program is 60 months or about 5 years long, and the starting wage there is $14 an hour. Remember, we talked about progressive wages. So by the end, I actually looked up what the average wage was for a Californian apprenticeship individual, and it's roughly $36 to $37 an hour is the average. So folks, after 5 years, they're going to be progressively increasing until they hit that wage at the end of their training. Then you can see what the prerequisites are. This is just to be able to have your application to be able to get into this program. So you need a high school diploma, GED, or equivalent. And then in addition to that, you need 2 semesters of high school algebra or 1 semester of college algebra where your grade was a C or better. So that can be a little bit challenging or daunting for folks when they're looking at this. In addition, there's physical requirements. There's also a written test. I know with electricians that written test is an aptitude test that you take, and then the oral exam, that's pretty much the interview, the actual face-to-face interview. where did I go? Okay, the last thing I want to show you in this, on this side to really kind of, so that you know how to talk about this when you're working with adult learners, is that when you look at the applications taken and the list type, these are two really important things to know about. When the applications are taken continuously, that means that they're always collecting applications, and they're going to pull applicants as they need workers to go out. So as there's a need, then they will pull people into the apprenticeship program and start training them. And the list type that they use is a ranked list. So that ranked list is how high you score on those oral exams, on your aptitude test. Do you meet the physical requirements? It's going to be your high school. You're going to get points for having like your high school diploma or your GED or your equivalency. You'll get points for the semesters of math that you may have, and then any experience. So they're going to mush all that together in their formula, and that's going to give you your ranked score. So you want to score really high because you want to be on the top of that list getting pulled out when it's time to start training a new cohort. This is the electrical program. They also offer veterans benefits, so folks can use their GI benefits in order to help out and offset some of the cost of training or the cost of living while you're getting training, etc. The next program on the right is a home care aide, and this one's in El Cerrito, and this is a much shorter program, about 1.5 years, 18 months. The starting wage, $15 an hour. They are going to progressively increase to the ending wage when they are done training, and that's going to settle at about $17 or $18 an hour. The minimum age is 18. You need a high school diploma, GED equivalent. You don't need to do a physical test. You don't need to do a written test. You are going to still do an oral exam, and again, that's going to be more like an interview. They also are open all the time, and they also do a ranked list. So if you have an adult learner that wants to go into this program, you really want to work on them, not just for their educational prerequisites, but really on those workforce skills to support them to be able to do really well on an interview so that they can score higher on that ranked list. Now, again, this can seem kind of daunting, and I use this intentionally to move into quality pre-apprenticeship programs, because that is what a pre-apprenticeship is for, is to kind of remove those barriers, remove the seemingly impossible task of taking that math or being able to interview properly or being able to demonstrate your experience. So we're going to talk about what pre-apprenticeship programs are, how they connect to registered apprenticeship, and then what their value is in the adult learner space.
Abby?
Yes.
Oh, before we move on, we
Yes,
have
please.
a question. I
Sure.
know our focus is adult learners today, but the question from, perhaps we'll go into this, but question from Deborah says, what is involved in utilizing an existing registered apprenticeship as a registered youth apprenticeship for students aged 16 to 17?
So I'm happy to follow up with you with some resources about that if you can take that email address, but that youth apprenticeship is a whole other ball of wax, and it's good, and it's much more than we would have time to get into today.
Thank you, Abby.
Yeah, if you can take down the email address, though, I have lots of stuff I'm happy to send. Okay, thank you so much for letting me know that question was out there. And so let's start with a poll really quick. I just want to see what you all know about pre-apprenticeship. And you can do, this is multiple choice, because you may know a little, but you know that your program is connected to pre-apprenticeship, and that's totally fine. Or you may know a lot and you may not be connected. So let's again try to get this up to about 80% of participation. I'm really happy to see, as of right this moment, we see quite a few people that know a little bit about it. So that's really great to hear. Keep going, y'all. We're so close to 80%. We're at like 73%. And I just feel like we can do better with this group. Oh, we're getting closer. Wow, 52% of you right now and growing. Okay, we did it. We got to 80%. That's fantastic. Okay, so as you can see, a lot of you here know a little bit about pre-apprenticeship, and I love to see that. And some of you Oh, wow. 4%. One of you has an actual pre-apprenticeship program with your program. I love that. And some of you don't know much, and that's totally fine. We're going to get to all of it. So let's just get this term pre-apprenticeship. Let's wrap our heads around it. So again, registered apprenticeship, those expand career opportunities, they expand opportunities for economic mobility, but a lot of people face barriers in accessing them. And so pre-apprenticeship is there to break these barriers down and to support folks to get prepared for registered apprenticeship and then to succeed in that as well. So pre-apprenticeship programs really create pathways, and they do that. The way that pre-apprenticeships are structured is a few different ways. So you can have like a pre-apprenticeship program, and that's specifically what it is. Or pre-apprenticeship could be a structured pathway, a set of strategies that help support individuals to get into registered apprenticeship, helps expose them to career opportunities, maybe multiple different registered apprenticeship programs, and really helps them build those kind of essential base skills in math, writing, whatever academic skills are going to be needed. Pre-apprenticeship, its root is to provide workforce preparation for individuals that have been historically underserved, and those that don't have a lot of workforce experience, and those that have been historically underrepresented and excluded from certain programs. So you'll see a lot of pre-apprenticeship programs like the one I worked in that were very specifically to help women get into the construction trades where they've been largely excluded from. There's a lot of programs to help communities of color break into tech, break into other industries in which they don't have a lot of representation. The Department of Labor does not register pre-apprenticeship programs. So there's not like the capital P, capital A that you see in registered apprenticeship, but California does register pre-apprenticeship programs, and several states do as well. The Department of Labor has outlined the elements of what a quality pre-apprenticeship is. And for most states that register pre-apprenticeship programs, they must have all of these elements to be inside of their program design in order to be registered. So again, we're going to see that the curriculum is going to be based on industry standards. There are industry competencies that are part of the curriculum, but the approval of the curriculum comes from a registered apprenticeship program. And that's a registered apprenticeship program that has a relationship, a memo of understanding, et cetera, with the pre-apprenticeship program. Pre-apprenticeships also have simulated experience, and that can be either through work-based learning, hands-on training. It can be through volunteer opportunities. I've seen folks use virtual reality and other simulators to provide that kind of hands-on experience for their participants. The only caveat is that simulated experience, that work, that training can't displace a regular employee or an employee or another apprentice, not a pre-apprentice. A really critical piece and where there's so much value in pre-apprenticeship is in facilitated entry. Quality pre-apprenticeship programs have agreements with registered apprenticeship programs that facilitate the entry of participants into the registered apprenticeship. So it's like a warm handoff. And that can look a lot of different ways. It could be a direct entry agreement, meaning that the person that completes their pre-apprenticeship doesn't have to go through any of the interview application process. They just directly enter the program. It could be facilitated entry in that someone that completes a program gets extra points for having completed pre-apprenticeship. So that can impact that ranking that we talked about earlier. If you get an extra 10 or 15 points for having completed registered or a quality pre-apprenticeship program. And really, again, pre-apprenticeships were really developed to increase diversity and to recruit and prepare folks that have been historically underserved. The other thing with pre-apprenticeship programs that differs from registered apprenticeship programs is that there is a strong component of supportive services, providing wraparound services or referrals to other agencies that can provide those supportive services to really get folks secure and in a space where they're able to focus on their training and be able to progress. And that's one thing I really love about pre-apprenticeship, is that that's really kind of a built-in component. And then finally, there has to be these sustainable partnerships between the pre-apprenticeship program, the registered apprenticeship program, other partnerships, and really trying to build that and sustain those in a way that promotes the use of pre-apprenticeship and simultaneously promotes registered apprenticeship. So pre-apprenticeship really can prepare adult learners by addressing these really kind of key factors that keep many folks stuck in place and feeling like they can't progress. And one of those is just the fear of the unknown. A lot of people may not know what apprenticeship is, or they may not see anyone that looks like them doing the role or career that they want to do. And so it becomes a really burdensome amount of fear that keeps you from taking that next step if you can't see yourself there. It also helps folks overcome barrier. Pre-apprenticeship also can help overcome barriers, trying to get, support getting your GED or your education, working through English as a second language, learning the kind of terminology that you need to learn for the specific job that you're going into, helping with workforce training, workforce preparation, those skills with interviewing, doing all kinds of things, your portfolio or your resume. It also can help meet those minimum qualifications. If you know that there's going to be an aptitude test, or that there's going to be a physical test, then there's ways to work with your adult learners to help them know what those are so they can work towards ameliorating any concerns that they have for those. And finally, it can really help with the living and work expenses. A lot of pre-apprenticeship programs, again, connect with folks that can either provide the kind of support for housing or for childcare, or get folks in line for those services from other agencies. So the way that this kind of looks, if you're looking at it from a different perspective, is the different types of preparation that happen in pre-apprenticeship. And the first is just through learning. If you don't know what apprenticeship is, or you don't know, oh, I can become an apprentice to get a medical assistant, or to be a computer programmer, or to be a cement mason, or maybe you don't know even what a cement mason is, or what the difference is between that and a carpenter. That's where really pre-apprenticeship comes in to help you understand what those jobs entail, what the pathways are to get into them. And then they help you with that skill building, working on the soft skills. I realize we don't use the word soft skills anymore, but I can't remember what the word is now that we use. But we'll call it those workforce development skills, those academic, math, writing, science, and those language skills. And then that participation and hands-on piece. And I can't stress how critical that piece is, because someone may think their whole, I really want to be an iron worker. I really, really want to be in home health. And then they actually go and do that hands-on piece, and they're like, nope, this is not for me. And having that happen in pre-apprenticeship is great. And that's just as successful as having someone say, I was born to do this. You're really helping someone make decisions and view their pathway in a way that's realistic and that fits for them. Another really, really valuable piece that pre-apprenticeships offer is they help individuals start networking with people in the training programs, networking within the industry. Many pre-apprenticeship programs will have guest speakers, or they'll have different success stories from participants, or they'll tour job sites or tour training centers. And that's really critical. That networking piece, those guest speakers, that touring of facilities, that is what allows people to actually see themselves in those positions. I'm always saying you can't be it if you can't see it. Quality pre-apprenticeships allow people to meet other individuals that have been successful in apprenticeship, or to view a work site and see other people that look like them, and to meet someone that has a shared lived experience in order for them to be able to visualize themselves in that space. And then again, there's that transition piece. Pre-apprenticeship programs have those agreements. They have those, whether it's facilitated entry, direct entry, that help folks transition, that warm handoff, and really good quality pre-apprenticeship programs have built-in systems where the supportive services follow an individual as they begin apprenticeships, so that they can really get settled in there and start being successful, which is really helpful for retention as well. Pre-apprenticeship programs, all quality pre-apprenticeship programs are directly connected to registered apprenticeship programs, but that's not the only successful outcome of pre-apprenticeship. It could be that a pre-apprentice participant just ends up being directly employed in a career or an occupation that they found out they really liked and they don't want to do apprenticeship. It could be that they realize, oh, I really want to get my education. And all of those are successful outcomes, in my opinion, of pre-apprenticeship. So we're going to actually take a moment now. I know this is a lot of information and not a lot of time, and that's okay. What I would like to do is just to take a moment, and we're going to have a breakout group and maybe do about 5 of you in each breakout group. And I just want for you to take a moment and think about what you've heard so far about pre-apprenticeship, but also think about the work that you do in your day-to-day when you're working with adult learners. And just talk for a moment about what you see, what connections you're seeing between your work and the goals of pre-apprenticeship. And when we come back, we are going to have one person from each group kind of summarize what was happening in the chat.
And Abby, can I just confirm how long you wanted the breakout rooms to be?
Let's do 5 minutes. That sounds great.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and paste the questions into the chat for everyone. I realize there's some chat issues right now, so the hope is this follows you into the breakout room. Are we ready to open the rooms? Yeah? Okay, great. Here we go.
Excellent. Great. I can see people coming back into the main room. I love it. It looks like there was a lot of chatter going on in the breakout rooms. So hopefully one of you, maybe one person from each room, can just kind of summarize really briefly. You don't have to write a novel. It's okay. Just write a couple words in the chat. What came up for you in your room? And I'm going to keep an eye on that while I go to the next slide, but I'm going to come back to the chat and see what gets entered in there from your breakout rooms. Okay, so while you're writing down what came out in your breakout room around the connections that you have, I just really want to talk about the value of pre-apprenticeship, not just obviously to our adult learners, to the participants in pre-apprenticeship, because that absolutely is central, that creating of access for individuals, getting folks that have been historically left out of these really great career opportunities into registered apprenticeship programs. But they also have value for registered apprenticeship programs, which is why they actually rely on them and why they utilize them. It helps them have a more diverse pool of candidates. It helps increase their retention rates, because the individuals that are coming from pre-apprenticeship programs have an idea of what to expect when they get into those registered apprenticeship programs. It helps them develop a strong talent pipeline that fills chronically open positions and really streamlines the recruitment process for apprenticeship programs. So an example I wanted to provide for you, since I'm not seeing much in the chat, and that's okay, these things happen. An example that I want to provide for you in California that some of you may be familiar with is SLO Partners. They have the San Luis Obispo, their County Office of Education. They have some pretty substantive programs that serve adult learners in the SLO Partner system. They recruit diverse adults. They have a lot of different, in addition to quality pre-apprenticeship programs that are registered in California, they also have a lot of boot camps and other upskilling systems that help support folks with getting ready for careers or registered apprenticeship programs. They have their staff there that do that warm handoff. They have industry knowledge, so they really know how to support folks getting into either the industry or the apprenticeship program. And their specific pre-apprenticeship programs they have are Ticket to Tech and Ticket to Trades, and you can find their programs on slowpartners.org. Just if you want to see what some programs in California are doing. Okay, what do I see in the chat? Oh, there's a lot going on in the chat, so I will come back to that. So I also, let me see, where am I? I want to talk to you a little bit about how to connect with pre-apprenticeship opportunities, specifically in California. So in California, oh my gosh, I feel like my finger is just a trigger finger right now. Let me move some stuff around here. So in California, again, the Division of DAF, the Division of Apprenticeship Standards, they are the ones that register pre-apprenticeship programs, and they have to be formally associated with at least one DAS registered apprenticeship program sponsor. So that is a critical component for anyone that wants to become pre-apprenticeship. And again, this is a goal from the state of California to really create more participant career pathway opportunities, and to do that with industry-based training and classroom instruction. If you want to apply to be a pre-apprenticeship program in California, then you need to email preapprenticeship@dir.ca.gov, and they will send you the information, the packet that you need to get on that. Oops, hello? On that pathway, sorry. When you're looking for what organizations may host pre-apprenticeship programs, you will find those in high schools connected with CTE curriculum. You will find those in community colleges. Many apprenticeship sponsors will have their own internal pre-apprenticeship program. So you'll be able to, if you look at the ironworkers or the carpenters, some tech industry will have an own internal pre-apprenticeship program. It's open to everyone, but it's their own, like, we only want to train people in this way, and this is how we're going to do our own pre-apprenticeship program. Correctional facilities have pre-apprenticeships in them. I'm not positive if it's still running. I hope it is. I know that the Union Ironworkers had a super fantastic pre-apprenticeship program in a DOC facility in California that housed women. Had a lot of success with that. Nonprofits, community-based organizations may also have pre-apprenticeship programs, and some local workforce boards may run them as well. In California, pre-apprenticeship programs, even though they're registered by DAS, they aren't listed in the same way that registered apprenticeship programs are. So when I showed you earlier, like, here's what you need to get into the electricians or into healthcare, that kind of list is not available that I could find anyway. However, the California building trades have put together a directory of pre-apprenticeship programs specifically for construction all over California. So I will include that resource for you when we do the resource form, but it's really nice. It's a map. You can kind of click on where, and it will tell you who's offering the program and where it's located. You can reach out to established programs and let them know and find out if they have an internal program. And I know this sounds crazy, but really, this was the most valuable for me. Was I just did a simple Google search of California pre-apprenticeship programs. And I would encourage you, if you do it that way, to put adult in front of it, because that will help you narrow the focus, so you're not getting all of the ones that are offered through school districts. And then you also can connect with your local American Job Center to find out what's going on there. And then I'm going to talk to you really briefly about how you can potentially start thinking about, if you have an existing IET program, you'll notice that there's a lot of similar elements, right? A lot of similar components. And so if you're already doing an IET program, these are just some steps that you can take to think about becoming a pre-apprenticeship program. And so you'll want to, again, identify some registered apprenticeship partners, find out what it is that they need, what kind of training would you need to implement or adapt in your IET program, partner with some community-based supportive services agencies, and really start that alignment of your workforce training and components with Registered Apprenticeship OJ on-the-job learning competencies. You'll want to integrate that work experience, that job shadowing into your IET workforce training, and really track those work experience hours. And you'll want to develop that memo of understanding with a registered apprenticeship program that really clearly specifies the conditions of facilitated entry. Is it going to be direct entry? Are they getting extra points? What is it that we need to do to move our folks into your program most directly? And then after you get those things in place, then you will want to register. So I am going to include in the resource list that I provide for you all, the actual more detailed slide about this from SAFL Partners and COABE that put together a really nice guide for how to become from an IET program to a pre-apprenticeship program. And now I am going to open things up for questions, and I'm going to review a question that I got separately. So first, let me take a look through. I'm looking through some of the chat, but you are welcome to take yourself off of mute or raise your hand, and we can absolutely open things up for questions.
Yeah, Abby, we had some comments. I believe folks summarizing their conversations in their breakout room, but there was a comment about how it is difficult to find teachers and instructors in pre-apprenticeship programs. I think that was Joelle's comment. And in another room, people talked about how, the MC3 curriculum is supporting justice impacted
Yes,
people and youth. So those are some of the comments that we received.
I love that. Thank you for telling me that. And I agree. And I about the challenges with finding instructors for it's kind of the same struggle that folks have finding nursing instructors. Like, do I want to make this amount of money, or do I want to be providing my instructional skills? And I think that sometimes that's where those partnerships with registered apprenticeship programs can come in really handy, because it may be that they have some folks that are willing, maybe they're nearing retirement, or maybe they're not in a position where they can go out and work with the heavy tools anymore, that might be willing to come in and do some of that instruction. I know that is one strategy that I used when I was working in pre-apprenticeship. Gets a little different when you're going into tech and things like that. I had a question that came to me privately about how to pick a sector for pre-apprenticeship. So trying to figure out like what sector you're going to use. I hope I'm addressing this the way that it was sent to me. It's really hard, I think, when you're living in rural communities, like, how do I find this? How do we know what to do? I think that's where you really have to dig into some like workforce data. What's going on in your county or in your region? What are some of the in-demand jobs? Who are the employers there? And then how can you reach out with them and start some partnerships? And it may not specifically become a pre-apprenticeship program at first. That might be a longer row or a longer strategy, but at least kind of figuring out what those in-demand structures are, what you have in place already, and then what kind of things are you going to need to upgrade in order to provide that training to your adult learners in your space.
Abby, are you willing for another input on that?
Yes, please, absolutely.
The way we select and keep our training programs, because we do weed them now and then by watching labor statistics and seeing what the predictions are, is one, there has to be an industry recognized certification besides the internship or apprenticeship. Number two, it has to predictably move or take the participant to the middle class. So there are many
that.
apprenticeship programs that can be set up. That doesn't mean that they will all move people to the middle class. But when there's only so many training programs that any one program can offer, we had to come up with criteria. So criteria 2 was, does it predictably move them, somebody to the middle class? And then criteria 3 is there needs to be thousands of jobs available in that sector and in that trade, even in a down economy. So that if they decide that they're going to, for instance, train with us in carpentry, but their heart is in painting, great. That's a pretty good segue once you want to join that union apprenticeship training program or not. But having that base of the trade that has thousands of jobs available consistently, moves people to the middle class predictably, and has industry certifications, that's our base for them. Knowing that we're not going to take them all the way through journey level training. I hope that wasn't too much.
No, I don't think that was too much. And I really, and that I think that you can take that kind of evaluation criteria and adapt it for where you are. So if you're in a more rural location where maybe thousands isn't the number that you're aiming for, but you can adapt that criteria and use that as you think about what sectors you might want to join up with. And again, that really critical piece too is if you want to connect, the registered apprenticeship program doesn't have to be in the town that you're doing your pre-apprenticeship program in, as long as you are in communication with them about what the training is and are there opportunities for getting that kind of experience where you are. Folks can go to where other registered apprenticeship training programs are if that's something that's possible for them. It's easier certainly when there are registered apprenticeship training facilities nearby, or when you can do, or if you can do a registered apprenticeship training remotely, to be respectful of the resources that folks have. I want to make sure that I cover a few more things before we skedaddle. But I definitely am going to leave up a slide with my contact information. So if you have specific questions about pre-apprenticeship or registered apprenticeship, you'll be able to reach out to me. But I do want to offer a couple of things for you to consider. One is that Grow Apprenticeship California has a community of practice that's pretty active on LinkedIn. So if you have LinkedIn, it's a great way to get engaged, find out all that is happening in registered apprenticeship. And also there is a pre-apprenticeship fireside chat that from Grow Apprenticeship California. So if you want to check that out, it will be in the list of resources that I provide for you after this. I also want to direct you to a couple of other resources. JFF, or Jobs for the Future, they have a framework for high quality pre-apprenticeships, a lot of tools and resources you can use for developing pre-apprenticeship. A lot of these are pre-apprenticeship related resources. There's one for creating adult pre-apprenticeship, but also there are some specifically for registered apprenticeships, so some equity stuff. And these will again be in a sheet that will come out for you alongside with this recording. It would be really fantastic if you would please take a moment. I think it's going to be dropped in chat, or you can just take a snapshot of the QR code and provide CalPro with an evaluation of today's session. And I believe that's going to be dropped in the chat as well. And then again, if you do want to reach out, if you have additional questions, I am always happy to answer whatever I can, or to direct you to the right place. So you are welcome to reach out to me at my email address. You might need to take a screenshot. I recognize my last name is a little bit hard to get around, but there you are. I want to thank you all so much for attending today. I want to thank the CalPro folks for inviting me to share about this subject, and I hope that you all have a fantastic day.
Thank you so much, Abby, for wonderful facilitation. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I hope the webinar was informative and helpful to you. We will be following up with a link to the recording to this webinar and all the links that were provided today in today's webinar. So talk to you soon. Hopefully you will join us for the next CalPro webinar. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye, everybody.